first big thing I was doing was we're going to bring Yu Suzuki over to the U.S. to speak at the Game Developers Conference. Um, and so this was the Game Developers Conference in 2000. And so the whole idea was because he was like an icon in pioneering game development, but he'd been around for a while. We wanted to have Greg Thomas, who was sort of head of Sega Sports, which would become 2K Sports. We wanted to have him because he was sort of like the rising star in the video game sports area, because all the Sega Sports games were really well reviewed and revered. So we thought, why don't we have the new guy interview the veteran, and so that was the presentation we were putting on at the Game Developers Conference. My role was to work on the speech that they were presenting, because they were going to do a Q&A. So it started with me emailing Japan saying, okay, here are like 5 questions, and then they would respond to just one of them with just a yes or no when it wasn't a yes or no question. And I'm like going, okay, this is going to take longer than we thought. And so then my boss said, you need to go over there. So I'm like, fine, I'll go to Japan. So I went to Japan and I met with Yu Suzuki and his team. And that's when we started. That's when I also grabbed a whole bunch of cool Sega swag that I couldn't get in America from the Japanese cabinet. It's like, oh, can I have that watch? Can I have that? And because nice. I've always been a fanboy of the things I'm passionate about. And so, I also got my autographed Shenmue.
Awesome, brilliant.
And so I met with him, and I found out they ended up creating a whole Q&A. Here's what he wants to ask, and here's his response. And so I'm like, okay, but then I started working with Greg Thomas, and when you're a creative director who's a popular creative director in his role, you don't want to be told what to ask when you're talking with one of your idols or one of these things. So he's like, no, I've got my own questions to ask. So I'm like, okay, this puts me in a pickle. So I had to Frankenstein everything together. I thought, since Greg's questions matched the answers Yu Suzuki wanted to give, I figured, hey, if I put them all together, everybody's happy. You can say what you want, you can say what you want. And I felt I am a genius, patting myself on the back. Victory lap, I solved this unsolvable problem. So then that brings us to the presentation at GDC. And here's like the copy, the game development.
Oh, wow.
Actually,
Very nice.
This is what we created.
Nice artwork is showing there.
Yeah, so it's a little bit more exciting than the conference program cover.
Take your place in game history.
And nice. I can send you this, but this right here is a description of the panel. The role of reality in epic game creation. And so we also had the creative director from Space Channel 5 presenting it at GDC as well. And so then we created the flyer that I sent out. I'm mailing a copy to one of you.
So cool.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And so on the back, it's got ooh la la, because like I said, it was for both. And basically just says, please join Sega of America for breakfast to honor and welcome world-renowned game developers Yu Suzuki and Tetsuya Mizuguchi to the Game Developers Conference. And so it was like a breakfast we organized with them. So anyway, so then the event comes, and then they both meet on stage. Yu Suzuki meets Greg Thomas, and I'm there in the back of the room, smiling at myself for all my genius. And then this was the first big event I ever worked on, by the way. I'd done a lot of like product mailings and pitching, but I haven't worked on like an actual live presentation before in PR. So this is like my first big baby. And then my boss comes running over me, like screaming at me, like, what the hell happened? They're reading script, everybody's confused up there and just going off on me, like, and I'm like, oh crap. And so I guess it didn't really, what I was trying to do it got lost in translation, I guess, to what I was trying to achieve. Like, I think probably Yu Suzuki's team probably looked at it and said, these aren't my questions. And I don't think they understood my genius. And so then I was told, like, they had to spend the next 2 hours, Greg and Yu Suzuki, working together to fix everything. So I was like, man, that was harsh on me. I was being screamed at like that, and so that was my Yu Suzuki experience.